Hey guys, this is ML here, and this is What If Naruto Had Lava Release Part 4. So yeah, without further ado, roll the intro. A couple of hours later, Tazuna's house. Naruto was taking a nap on the couch, recovering from getting hit by the Senbon. He couldn't move, so he just slept until the effect of his body being paralyzed wore off. Tora was lying on the floor next to the couch. Her leg was still bandaged where the Senbon had hit her. Naruto looked around and saw the rest of his team, plus Tazuna and another lady that Naruto guessed was Tazuna's daughter, seeing the similarity between the two. Sasuke was brooding. Sakura was watching him with stars in her eyes, and Kakashi was reading Ichicha. Tazuna was reading a book on bridges, and Tsunami was knitting an intricate scarf with a cool pattern. Naruto felt feeling return to his left arm, and then his right. After about 20 minutes, Naruto could move his body freely. "Hello everyone," Naruto said as he sat up. "Anything interesting happened while I was out?" "No," Kakashi replied. "We're waiting for you to start training." 20 minutes later, Team 7, plus a regular-sized Tora, was standing near some trees as Kakashi explained the tree walking exercise. When he was done, Naruto explained that he already knew how to do the tree walking exercise and the water walking exercise. Naruto then left and went to a different clearing, where he then created a shadow clone and sparred with it using his style, the targeting fist. After that, he worked with Tora on learning the Doton, hardening claw, the Nimpo, hair-splitting clone, and the Doton, Tetsu Yoroi. Doton, the claw enforcement, was a technique designed by Naruto to harden claws using Earth Chakra. The jutsu at its perfect state would harden claws around the density of a diamond. The Nimpo, splitting hair clone, was basically a clone technique designed by Naruto where the user sheds a few pieces of their hair and two hairs would transform into a clone. The clone's size could vary depending on how much chakra was pumped into them. Lastly, the Nimpo, Tetsu Yoroi, or Iron Armor, was a technique created by Naruto that caused the user's skin to become as hard as iron. The user was basically wearing a chainmail suit, but the downside is that the user's skin reflects light like a mirror, making it not a so stealthy jutsu. 6 days later, Naruto and Tora were sleeping in a clearing. They had been training so hard that they didn't even have time to walk back to the house. They woke up to someone shaking them awake. "Hello, Hunter-san," Naruto said, completely unbothered by the fact that Haku was reaching for a Senbon. Haku stiffened when he recognized her, and started reaching for a Senbon that was hidden in her basket. "Relax, we're not enemies right now," Naruto said. "As much as I like fighting strong opponents, I don't like fighting unnecessarily. I will fight when I need to, but that is not right now. By the way, I'm a boy," Haku said as she was leaving. "No, you're not," Naruto said. "And if I concentrate hard enough, I can feel someone's heart beat through the ground, using Doton chakra. Your heart rate went up, if only slightly, meaning you were lying." Haku looked somewhat shocked, but smiled and still walked away. Naruto had helped Haku pick herbs in the time they were talking, but he didn't help her pick that many since they didn't talk for very long. The next day, Naruto had slept in somewhat late, but woke up earlier than in canon. He heard a commotion downstairs and went to check it out. When he got there, Tsunami was being held at sword point while Inari was struggling to get up. "Hey Inari," Naruto said, throwing a doll at Inari that he pulled from behind his shoulder. It appeared out of thin air. "Catch." As the doll neared Inari, Naruto switched it with Tsunami. Naruto then stepped in front of them. "You guys might want to close your eyes. What's going to happen next is not something that you want to see," Naruto said. Tsunami and Inari closed their eyes and turned away. Naruto held up his hands and his nails lengthened into claws. He'd created this jutsu because he thought it would be useful to have a weapon that couldn't be confiscated if he was searched. "Doton," claw enforcement, Naruto said as his hands were surrounded by purple chakra, making the technique look similar to the chakra scalpel. In the blink of an eye, Naruto was behind Gato's thugs. Their heads fell to the floor, followed by their bodies. Naruto quickly used the Kanton technique to burn their bodies to ash, and then disposed of it by blowing it away. He then turned to Tsunami and Inari and told them to stay inside the house and lock the doors. He also left Tora with them, just in case. When Naruto arrived at the bridge, Kakashi and Zabuza were staring each other down. Haku and Sasuke were doing the same thing. Naruto jumped onto the bridge and stood next to Sasuke. Hey Sasuke, go back and protect Tazuna. You and I both know Sakura can't stand up to anybody here and win. Besides, my skills are a perfect counter to Hunter Stands. Yours are not. She has Ice Release, which is a combination of wind and water. I have Lava Release, which is a combination of earth and fire. Those two are pretty much opposite. Oh, and Zabuza, Gato is gonna double cross soon, so you might not want to fight until after me and Haku's fight is over. By that time, Gato should be here. Fine, Sasuke said, but I'm still better than you, as he walked back to Tazuna. Zabuza didn't give any indication that he'd heard what Naruto said, except for a single slight nod. As soon as the fight started, Haku trapped Naruto in the ice mirror. Wow, Haku, you really aren't playing around, Zabuza said. No, I do not have that luxury. My opponent is exceptionally skilled, and I will need to be at my very best from the beginning, Haku said. Naruto didn't say anything. He simply got into a Taijutsu stance and secretly activated his Doton Iron Coat, though if one looked hard enough, they could still see his body glinting. The technique reduced his speed, but it seriously upped his defense against sharp objects. If Haku was using blunt force to attack Naruto, Naruto would be in trouble. But however, since Haku was using Senbon, Naruto had used this jutsu. It also had a 5-minute time limit, and then needed to wait 5 more minutes before being used again. This was because Naruto was essentially forcing chakra through every part of his body, and that strained it. Haku blurred, and Naruto could feel Senbon hitting him from all sides almost simultaneously. Almost simultaneously, Naruto thought. He concentrated on the Senbon hitting him, and he felt them hit him from one side, then the opposite side. She was reflecting herself off the mirrors, Naruto thought. I have to end this quickly. My Tetsu Yoroi is almost at the time limit. Naruto performed the Yotan bungee cord, hidden by a transparent escape jutsu, quickly shooting out bungee cords from all over his body. They connected with all the mirrors, and Haku launched herself off again. Naruto felt the bungee cord that had connected to Haku twitch, signifying that this was the real Haku. Naruto then had a split second to react. Naruto dropped his Tetsu Yoroi and allowed 3 Senbon that Haku had thrown at him to land. Naruto then used the extra speed that the Tetsu Yoroi had blocked him from using to pull back on the bungee cord that was connected to Haku, ripping her out of one of the mirrors. He then quickly disappeared in a burst of speed, reappeared next to her, landing a vicious kick to her stomach, launching her away, and in the process, making her lose control of the ice mirror dome, causing it to disappear. Zabuza was dumbfounded that someone had managed to stay alive and counter Haku's ice mirror dome. How do you counter my jutsu? Haku asked, standing back up. Her mask was cracked and had fallen off. Well, I used a jutsu I created called the Doton Tetsu Yoroi. It was created to protect me from sharp objects, and so I won't feel a thing. But the speed at which you were moving, the Senbon felt like painful pinpricks, Naruto explained, rolling up his sleeve. All over his arm were red dots where the Senbon struck. While the actual Senbon didn't pierce me, the force behind them still left me with several painful reminders, Naruto explained. Anyway, let's continue the spar. I haven't had this much fun in ages, Naruto said, as he and Haku blurred in and out of sight. Sounds of kunai hitting Senbon were heard, but nobody except Zabuza and Kakashi could follow their movements. After a few minutes, both of them stopped. They were covered in cuts from head to toe and were bleeding, but not too badly. I respect your strength, Naruto-san, Haku said, while struggling to keep standing. Me, same. Naruto said. Also, I hear Gato coming. I'm gonna leave him to you, Zabuza Kakashi. I really don't feel like fighting weak opponents, Naruto said as he collapsed into a sitting position on the ground, breathing hard. Coincidentally, Haku also mirrored him at the same time. 15 minutes later, Zabuza and Kakashi had taken care of almost all of the mob. Naruto helped kill a few ones that looked strong, but they were no match for him, even in his weakened state. Hey Zabuza, you and Haku can come back to Konoha. I mean, Hokage-sama would let you guys become Leaf Shinobi, Naruto said. I know it must be pretty tiring to have to be constantly on the run from hunter nin. I would like to, kid, but I'm a missing nin, Zabuza responded. And so it might cause trouble for Konoha. Well, that is true, but right now, Kiri is in a civil war, and whoever wins that war is likely not going to try and mess with Konoha. We still are the strongest elemental shinobi nation after all, Naruto said. On top of that, I will announce that you are under protection from my clan, the Uzumaki's, Naruto said. Fine, Zabuza said. But I bet you just want to see Haku again, that's why you're saying this. Zabuza was secretly hoping to embarrass Naruto, and possibly Haku. Haku blushed and looked away, but Zabuza's comment seemingly had no effect on Naruto. True, Naruto said. Say, Haku-chan, would you like to go out sometime after we get back to Konoha? Really, Dobe? Why would you go out with someone like you? Besides, she's strong, and I need someone strong to help me rebuild my clan, Sasuke said arrogantly. Multiple people sweat-dropped at how Naruto could say something so bluntly at some times, and other times he answered in riddles, and Zabuza merely glared at Sasuke. Sure, Naruto-kun, Haku responded, along with a nod, completely ignoring Sasuke. Sasuke got annoyed and started complaining about it, and he was backed up by Sakura, even though she still didn't really like Haku. Zabuza stepped close to Naruto and whispered in his ear, "Hurt her, and you'll regret it." Naruto just nodded, and they walked back to Tazen's house. 2 weeks later, the Hokage's office. Hiruzen had been debriefed by Team 7 on the mission. So, Naruto, Hiruzen said, with a mischievous glint in his eye. From what I heard, you and Haku are together. At this point, Zabuza chose to stare out the window instead of looking at Naruto or Haku, because they were both intently staring at him. And from what I know, the Uzumaki are extremely loyal, so we might have an Uzumaki clan with both ice and lava release. Both Naruto and Haku blushed and looked away. 2 weeks later, Team 7 was staying outside the academy building. They were going to take the tuning exams. Haku wasn't there. She was currently classified as a Tokubetsu Chunin, which means she was a Chunin in strength but lacked skills in a couple areas. But if Naruto became a Chunin, then she would too, because they were exactly at the same intelligence and power level. Hiruzen had decided to do this because Haku didn't have a team in which to complete the exams, and having a 4-person team would be kind of unfair to the other people. Well, let's go, Naruto said, walking into the building. Alright guys, thanks for listening, I will see you next time. Bye.